This is the moment we've been waiting for. A time in human history where exponential technologies have rendered the world more virtually connected, more empowered, and more informed than ever before. Yet, we're still suffering a lot. So, how do we make the most of our modern tools to amplify and connect with what truly matters? To light the way, I've asked some friends to join us around the proverbial fire to share stories of discovering their purpose hidden within life's winding path and to explore the future we really want. Let's meet where community, technology, and ancient wisdom converge. Today we're around the proverbial fire with Kelly Robinson, acclaimed interior design entrepreneur, yoga instructor, and I'm going to say it, modern-day goddess. Kelly combines intellect, study, and embodied feminine wisdom in all she does. Her ability to balance the practical with intuitive, modern edge, and timeless wisdom offers a model for what's possible in our emerging world. AKA, you don't have to strain to succeed. As the first office manager at AirBnB, Kelly became the visionary behind their famous San Francisco headquarters, opening big doors to designing for other tech love brands like Soundcloud and Headspace. She understands the importance of physical environment and its impact on nearly everything, from how we work to what we imagine or don't, and how we relate to each other. By designing for human health and wellness, company health shines through the triple bottom line: people, planet, profit. Because when we feel our best, we do our best. She has a gift for bringing engineering minds into their bodies through delighting the senses, but her contribution to creating a balanced, sustainable, and beautiful world extends beyond interior design. This conversation touches on Kelly's design philosophy, but moreover explores the synchronicities that helped reveal her purpose. We dig into questions like, how do you turn pain into power? From where in the body is creativity born? It is Kelly's authentic light, business savvy, and fluency in the tech world that has inspired me since we met some 5 years ago in the financial district in sunny San Francisco. Here's Kelly's journey discovering and making meaning in the modern world through seizing opportunity, embracing challenges, and honoring beauty in the new age. Heads up, we get real, folks. Kelly, hi.
Hi.
Thank you. Thank you for making time to sit down and in your, I imagine, home space, sheltering in place space. Okay. So I was thinking about how to orient people listening here to who I'm speaking with. And I'll just share how I hold you in my heart. Um, to me, you are essentially this living example of a modern goddess and embodying the alignment of body, heart, mind. And the inspiration for this project came from considering where are we going as a world, and in this precious pause moment, as challenging as it's been and in some ways very fatal, there's a lot that's breaking away and dying off, and there's a lot that is being cleared for new life. And so I'm interested especially in where the roads meet between technology, an example of modernity, community, the tribe, human family, and indigenous wisdom, or in other words, what I read on Instagram just last night of your words was, knowing the way forward is an ancient one. Yes, to that. So I get to sit here with you, Kelly, who I met in 2014 when I was an office manager at Teespring in San Francisco during the booming age of whatever a culture, head of culture, chief of culture, wellness, space maker was. And I got to sit in a beautiful room and eat luscious food and listened to you talk to me and our new office manager at the time about creating space in a way that supports wellness for all within. Since then, you have added other things into your life as well. And so I want to make space here to see if there's anything that you'd like to share. Who are you, or what your path is about right now? And then I'll take us forward from there.
Rose, thank you. Thank you for your for the bravery that you went through in your process to get here. Thank you for all of the feelings that you allowed yourself to feel so that you could go through this process that nature teaches us, is that things do need to die, you know, in order for us to be reborn. And so I see you, I am with you, and I thank you for turning pain into power, which is what the goddess does, which is what the queen does. So here we go. I'm so happy to support you. Thank you. And yeah, I think there's kind of two things that first come. One is like, who am I? I am a daughter of our Mother Earth. Like I'm here to, amplify the voice of Mother Nature, of the natural world, of the animals and the plants. That is how I feel, who I am at my essence. And a big shift that I've been experiencing recently around my work, my creative work, is that I, much like you, used to be supporting the creation of spaces in the workplace and creating just a better planet for people to live in at work, really. And now that we find ourselves sort of confined to our homes, I've been shifting and helping support people in elevating their home space and therefore elevating their life. So that's been a big and beautiful shift because it's much more personal, and I'm able to bring my spiritual side fully to those conversations. Whereas in the workplace, it was kind of like I had to be a bit of a spiritual ninja. I had to be like a veiled priestess doing the work in the companies, even though they needed it and I showed up with it and they received it fully. But now I feel like I can just take off the mask and, be totally my truest, realest self. And I'm like really grateful for that shift. And it's new and exciting, and it feels really aligned with my purpose and my gifts. So yeah.
Oh, hallelujah. Congratulations on that shift. And to be able to unveil. And I want to acknowledge the fact that you are someone who I see and have seen and have been inspired by, at least this is in my imagination, of you walking into a boardroom wearing feather earrings and a dress and being like, I'm fucking brilliant, and this is what it looks like to be a woman. And I mean, was that the case? I think you did wear feminine clothing and embody yourself, even if maybe what I'm hearing now is like there was also needing to carry some of the lighter veiling, the lighter language. That said, I did just read an article written about you on First Round, where you full on mentioned womb vibes. And I want to call that in right now. I'm not going to save that for later. Womb vibes, for everyone listening, that's WOMB, like what's in the center of a woman, right there. Mm-hmm. And in your words, Kelly, and I had to, this is what you shared with First Round. I've been studying a lot about ancient feminine wisdom, and we have this space in our body that we never talk about, which is our womb space, which is super creatively focused. Being a woman obviously allows us to create life, but the creative power that we have is really special too. Sometimes I feel creatively stuck. I sit and bring my awareness to my womb and ask for creative guidance from that place. That may sound super weird, and I'm totally okay with that. I just want to keep it real. And when I read that, I was like, fucking mic drop. Like, I don't even care. That's what I'm talking about. Okay, so my passion for what you shared aside, and the fact that I'm glad you're bringing yourself into the spaces where you feel no need to maybe dim the veil a bit, or what you said. Can you share a little bit, like, how was that full feminine expression received in spaces like Airbnb, SoundCloud, yeah, please.
Yes, I mean, and to your point, I've always been this person, you know. It's just about finding the right balance, because ultimately we want to reach people, and if we can meet people where they're at, we're able to have a more positive impact on, supporting them to create change in their workplace or for their company or whatever. So it's always been there, and it's always been kind of underneath. At Airbnb, it was so fascinating when I, like, looking back at it. This was back in 2010. We were 10 people working in the founder's apartment. It was 3 male founders who were all brilliant and, like, so complimentary, but still there was not a feminine leader. And so I kind of took the role of, in the most, like, high regard, like, mothering the company. And I really say that from, like, such a reverent place, to look after the people and make sure the home was taken care of, and that people felt connected and welcomed, and that they were eating healthy, nourishing food and not garbage, and that they had opportunities to move their body, and that they were drinking water a lot, and all these things. And because the company grew so quickly, my responsibility, it's like I had 100 children all of a sudden. Like, I had to really, I had a lot of responsibility and bigger spaces and more budget to be more creative and all of these things. So I was very empowered at Airbnb, and part of it was because they were just great people there, like, empowering me, and part of it was because we were all so busy that, like, no one had time to check anything. So it was just like run, sprint. It was wild. And then SoundCloud, because I had Airbnb kind of under my belt, I think they also saw what I was able to do and also empowered me right away. So it felt really good. I felt really grateful to have been working with and empowered by really powerful men. And that is essential. It's essential for a balanced environment, like, on any scale, whether it's like home, workplace, planet. Women need to be empowered. Yeah.
Oh, yes. Yes. Thank you. One of the focus points of this is understanding how people get in touch with that calling, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because on an individual level, like, if we want to be called forward as a collective, we need to learn how to tune in to that place. How do you listen for your path, for your calling? And did you always know yoga, interior design, and I'm not even saying the third thing yet?
Oh, wow. Yeah. What a question. No, I didn't know that that was what my life would become. I didn't study architecture or design at all, ever, in, like, the traditional sense. Um, my story in terms of understanding space and the importance of space does, of course, stem back to childhood. And I do think you're right. When people are searching for this purpose, like, look back to what excited you when you were a child, before, the world's shoulds kind of melted all over you. And my dear sister El Luna says, if you want to know what you loved when you were little, call your mom, and ask what was I like. And so when I was little, my mom was one of 10 children. She was the 5th of 10. And so she grew up in just a huge, full family all the time. And so hospitality and her inviting people into her home and making them the guest was always a very important thing for her. And I just remember how much effort and energy she would put into setting the space for welcoming people into her home. It was a high honor. So that for sure always stuck with me. But when I was in my early 20s, I lived and worked on board a billionaire's private yacht in the Caribbean and the Mediterranean, which is a very wild chapter that only lasted 9 months. But living and working on board a space like that, and understanding how to manage a space that is elevated at such a level, there's like a standard of maintenance that is required. It taught me so much about how to set space for, like, intimate conversation or celebration and fun or relaxation, like, that the space can move just like nature does to hold us in different ways. And from there, I traveled so much. I've been so blessed to see so much of the world. And I would always look through a lens of design, like how are spaces shaped to hold people in different ways? What materials does the earth give us in different countries? Like what is around, what creative things are people doing with these things? So that's kind of what brought me into design. And then when I began to study yoga, I went to India actually right after working on the yacht, which was like, it was in 2008. So during like the last kind of depression, I went from working on like a luxury super yacht to living in an ashram in India, like totally opposite spaces. And that's when I connected like body, home, planet, this like trifecta of these three pieces and how they are one. I mean, they're really the way that we care for them, it's all interconnected. So I hope that answers your question. That was a lot too.
Absolutely. Yes. Looking back at childhood and of course life has its hand in all of this of the opportunities it serves along the way. And I love that you were in that space very early on of reception, because I was also reading something. I was looking at your blog, which I had also looked back at, 4 years prior. And you have the Native American Code of Ethics up there, which was really beautiful to revisit. In that Native American Code of Ethics, I read the piece on welcoming guests into your home and giving them the best bed. And that is hospitality, as you mentioned in your design work with Airbnb, reception, or other office spaces, headspace. So yoga, interior design, and then coming back to the womb space. I remember you deciding to also become a doula. And are you still practicing as a midwife? Is that synonymous with doula?
So, wow, thank you for that. Work is so sacred. So a birth doula is more emotional support. He or she is there with the mother throughout her pregnancy and during labor, but she doesn't offer any medical support at all. It's more hands-on touch. Essential oils are a great tool. Temperature, ice, fans, and also being there for the birth partner, for the father in many cases, and holding space for him also, which is a big part of the work. And then also, talking with, if you're in a hospital setting, being the communicator, being the bridge builder between the family and the hospital, so that the mother who is in her moment can stay in her moment. Whereas a midwife can deliver a baby, can, offer procedures, is much more medically experienced. And this is work that I'm longing to do more of. And I wasn't able to do it quite as much as I would have liked, because I was on the move quite constantly for work and other things. But the story of how I became a birth doula was that when I was 13, my mother was pregnant with my sister. And I rose between two brothers. And like my whole life growing up, I was like just begging my parents if I could have a sister. And I didn't really even know, what that actually meant or how it happened. But I was just like calling her in. I must have been able to feel her. Mm-hmm. And then when my mom was pregnant, I stayed with her through her whole pregnancy. I went to every doctor's appointment, and the night that she was in labor, I was like literally holding, like laying on her belly with her. I could feel her belly like contracting, and I was present at the birth. I was actually the one who cut the umbilical cord, which at 13, it was a really like powerful thing to see and witness. And so when I did my birth doula certification many years later, and I called my mom, told her I had my first client, she said, "Oh, it's actually your second client because you were my doula." So there was this, it was this seed that had been planted all those years ago that I didn't even really know. But I find it to be such profound, just huge work. Birth is such a sacred rite of passage. And it can be anything. Like it's just every baby needs to come in a different way, and every mother goes through it in her own way. And to be able to support that and to be invited into such an intimate moment in a woman's life is like, it's such a gift. And it does require a certain strength of spirit for sure. But I'm so grateful to do it, and I would love to do it more.
While I was looking into you last night and researching who you are today, I broke down in tears. I was surprised. I didn't know what to do with that. I had to call my mother and be like, I'm getting ready to speak to Kelly, and she had heard about you a little bit through the years, and there was aspects of Avalon and coming home to Rose Temple energy. And Kelly, this is stuff I think I haven't let myself enter.
Wow.
So listening to you really like turned up the volume inside of something in me that I want to invite everyone tuning into this right now to do.
Mm-hmm.
To listen inside, and this is for men as well, to listen inside to that feminine aspect, to that intuitive, fluid, and fiery place inside of us that does not know the boundaries of linear thinking or seed rounds or runways or four walls, a floor, and a ceiling, but the space inside of the sphere that we all exist within. And I'm inviting all of us, whoever's willing, to turn that volume up inside, because Kelly, if you're not birthing babies right now, I think you are absolutely a part of helping birth this world. Mm. And doulas, the ability to add, I mean, you were at my bedside 3 years ago on Skype, because thanks to you, while I was figuring out what to do, and it was right before I got my job as a coach, I was wondering where to go, and I asked you for some guidance. And the 3 things that you shared with me that had changed your life at that time or helped keep your path clear was women's circles, Vipassana 10-day meditation silent retreat, and ayahuasca. And within 6 months, I had done my homework.
Wow.
And it was so beautiful. And I'm so deeply thankful. And so I'm offering this, I'm repeating it back in case anyone here, because if anyone listening is going like, this is all fine and good, and how awesome that you guys had some opportunities to express these aspects of yourself, what do I do? Well, here are a few things, whether that's, you know, online groups and circles, and maybe Kelly, you can share a little bit. Yeah, I'd like you to, about how you're continuing to do your work and keep your fire going through this time of sheltering in place, to be creative and to tap into that raven magic, intuitive self that we all have. And we can do the healing right here at home. So turning around or passing the talking piece back over to you now, is there anything that you'd care to share about what's alive during this pandemic moment, this sheltering at home moment, anything, whatever's coming up right now?
Yes. You know, when this first happened, I started to have this moment of realizing that so many people were actually praying for this situation to come, even though we didn't think it was going to look like what it looks like. You know, many of us are watching what's happening on the planet to the natural world, and we're like, she cannot sustain our behavior like this. Like, something's got to give. Like, please let the people awaken. Please let the people awaken. You know, these prayers from millions of people going out every day at every altar with every crystal in every circle. And so, you know, our prayers are being answered. It's hardcore, and to your point, it's fatal, and it's very uncomfortable, and pain and death are really powerful teachers. And so yeah, it's there, like, I don't want to discount that discomfort, and because it's necessary. It's a necessary part of the natural process: birth, death, and rebirth. These are the cycles that no living being is immune to. Humans, animals, plants, like, it's all this, like, and so now we know that we are facing these cycles. How do we want to be about it? How do we want to live about it? I've been given these gifts. I need to be using these gifts. I need to be offering these gifts. I know that much. Like, I need to be dancing. I need to be creative. Music needs to happen. I need to be expanding my wisdom and learning more and going back and looking forward. But I think the piece that I personally have been uncovering, and it's interesting because I think you and I are on a similar timeline with this journey, is I've been really reconnecting and connecting for the first time to my womb space, to my pelvic bowl. And this place within us is the core of the feminine, and it's the core of the earth, just like you said. And when we go through our day and we're here, and then often a lot of us are here, but like, how often are we here? Are we really in like the most powerful part of ourselves? And it's this awakening, and it's this lifting, and it's listening into this intelligence center that holds the key to the new world that we are all rebirthing together. I know you get it.
I honestly can feel it now. I could have maybe gotten it a few months ago. I can feel it now. And I want to share, to your point of not discounting the discomfort of this time. My death happened about 9 months before COVID. So, and I mean, it was the scariest, most dark, fervid, terrified place I've ever gone in my life. And it was a place I really, really had to work very hard to keep hope in, because I was living in Paris at the time. I felt deeply disconnected from my roots. I felt very lost in terms of my purpose and how to reconnect, even though I was living in one of the most beautiful places in the world. I always had a great place to stay. I had more than enough food. I had the luxury of a regular paycheck in work I love and I'm good at. How could this understand what was happening in here? It couldn't. And so the raw and wretched hell of that entering the cave, kind of, especially if the cave in there or that void space has been neglected in some way, which I think for a lot of us and in our society, we can neglect it. There's so many Zoom things we can participate. There are so many jobs we can say yes to for the money or for the children or for whatever it is. When the grief comes up, which I think it is right now for a lot of people, I'm curious, Kelly, if you have anything that maybe has helped you keep hope or faith, any simple daily practice or elders in your world that you look to for light. Can you talk to us about hope and about moving through discomfort?
Thank you for sharing your journey and your hell. And I think the first thing we can do is normalize it. I went through it 6 months ago. We're really we're just like leapfrogging right alongside each other. And it was so bad. I had never been that low in my entire life. I had never touched like depression before in my entire life. And all of a sudden I had this like realization, this is how most people are, or many people are living all the time. And this is how every single human has lived at one point or another. So it is normal to get into that place where you looking up, where you don't want to be here anymore. You're done. You're over it. You're checked out. You're like, okay, I cannot wake up another day and hit my knees with this many tears again. I just can't. Like, it's normal. And God, you hear it when you're in that place and you almost want to just be like, don't say that to me, but that is the catalyst for the rebirth. It is. And, there is, I think, a little bit of a concern when you stay in it for too long, right? There is this moment where you really have to, just like I look at nature, you look at something struggling, like a caterpillar that is struggling for so long to get out of the cocoon. And then just like the first little moment peeks through, like, we do have to reach for the light at some point. There's a time when the suffering is enough. So I think, normalizing it first, looking at nature and seeing that is a part of what nature does. It's all the animals do it, all the plants do it. The human soul does it. So, and in terms of practices, what helped me, I think allowing myself to feel it and accepting myself, even though I couldn't get out of my pajamas the whole day and didn't take a shower and couldn't eat or sleep, okay, I love you anyway. Okay, you're worthy anyway. Okay, this isn't forever, but this is now, and that's okay. And then, for me personally, when it got so bad that I really couldn't see which way was up, I do go to the plants, and I did go to the medicine. And I did it with such reverence and such respect, and such humility, and a lot of seriousness with which I take that, that ancient medicine. And that really helped. That really healed me. And I hadn't, it had been 3 years since I had received the medicine before, and that for me was the catalyst. It brought me, when you're drinking the medicine, you're drinking the intelligence of Mother Nature into your own body. And so it helped me just remember that we are all part of these cycles, and that I'm just going through a part of the cycle, and it's normal, and it's okay. And it's a good sign, actually, that I'm not trying to escape it, I'm in it. And so it just brought me back to this trust in Creator, or God, or the universe, however your own understanding of it is, a trust in that plan, and a trust in my own life, and a trust that being, that force, like, loves me and has the best intentions for me. And so, yeah, those were the big tools. And then for little day stuff, just like make everything a sacred ritual. Like, I'm taking a shower. Oh, water is life. Yes, thank you. I'm putting on lotion. Oh my gosh, this beautiful body. Thank you. I'm having a cup of tea. Like, oh, this is medicine too. Oh my gosh, thank you. Just like over ritualize, just everything, even like brushing your teeth, whatever it is, making the bed. That really helps me to like be really befriending my home and everything in it, and like, feeling like it's a really positive conversation that's happening within my space.
I love what you said of ritualizing actions. And for me, as someone who processes, and I'm a sensitive person, saying, okay, my feelings are here, I'm listening, and like mama's taken over now, and we need to also do the thing. We need to answer the emails, we need to buy the groceries, call the friend back, whatever it is. And that becomes very grounding. I want to use this into the entry point of yin and yang, masculine, feminine. You've worked with some corporations and in some worlds where there's an exceptionally powerful masculine energy. And what I mean by that is the ability to push, the ability to get an idea out, the ability to use the right brain and logical thinking and move through, even at times at all costs. Kelly, do you have a sense, whether that's visions of artifacts from our nearing future, I mean, like literally like tomorrow, like we can see the sun is rising on this time, what are the elements or the new experiences or the things that glimmer of truth in the world you like to imagine? Okay, there's of course many realities that we could imagine happening from here. Some of them feel really good and some of them don't for me. What do you want to be ushering in?
Well, first I want to speak to your response and this balance that you're speaking of. To me, the two words are grace and grit, right? Like, we need to be graceful with ourselves and to allow and to be soft with ourselves. And then there is this grit of living. When you look at the natural world, like, they are, like, the animals are fighting for their lives on many occasions. Like, there's life death situations frequently, and we don't. I think that's why so many humans are depressed, is because we don't have to fight anymore. We don't have to, like, there's not, the grit piece is missing. So thank you for raising that. Yeah, and that balance that you speak of is, so that's a huge piece of the lens through which I look at my life. So I was born on the equinox, so it's literally like equal day of light and dark. And so walking that line of balance, I think, helps me in my design, it helps me in my life. So really trying to figure out what that balance is. And so when I think about the new world that I want to create and rebirth, and how I need to come to balance within my own self, it may be different from everyone else, but I think the premise is the same, that to like really take an honest stock of where you are, of what's in balance and what's not, and and readjust accordingly. So for me, you know, it really still comes back to the womb. It comes back to like knowing and owning like the innate feminine power that is in me and every single woman, and knowing that that power exists whether I'm the only woman in a room of 40 German like construction workers on a project in Soundcloud in Berlin, or in a boardroom, or in a circle with my sisters. Like it doesn't change. And so, you know, when I think about the world that I have always been able to see since I was very young and still see now, and it almost feels like a burden sometimes to see it like this, but I know that it is possible to live harmoniously on this planet. Like this planet is so rich and so generous and has so much that we can enjoy. And I can see through my third eye a life of what that looks like, and how people spend their days and how they connect and when they and what work they do on themselves through the process, and how we hold each other through our moments of growth, and how we interact with the natural world, how we commune with the natural world, how we consume, how we waste. In fact, we don't waste. You know, all of these things, I can see it. And so that to me is what is the world I want to create, starting with like one small planet at a time, which is like one person's home at a time, right? One workplace at a time, like one space, one container at a time. If we can create harmony within all of these individual little containers, like eventually the big container will be harmonious. That's what I got. I'm a dreamer, but yeah, I can see it.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Micro to macrocosm. Can you tell us a little story or moment of where you have seen this new world exist, whether that's between two people? And I know you've talked so much about the need for communal gathering spaces or nap rooms so people can replenish at work, the real living being self in office spaces, because I believe so much of these microcosm spaces that are going to make a big difference on our planet are taking these shifts within to the heart of Google, Tesla, companies that are pumping out our future through algorithmic quantum scales we can't even begin to imagine what's going to be in 5 years. But what if those cultures had a center and a root chakra? And I don't want to get too into that language because I don't want to push the ears away that need to hear this. What I'm talking about is, let's say, gut knowing, let's say animalistic truth. Okay, we all have it, men and women. And frankly, most of the founders that have been successful have it very strongly.
Yes, thank you. And I think, you know, I think we should let's take it to the chakras, because this is important. So the chakras are these energy centers, these wheels of the body that we all have. Some of them correlate with an organ. So the heart chakra corresponds with the heart, like the gut, the manipura, it's your center, it's your core, it's your belly, it's your intuition, it's your ego also. So it's just these wheels of energy. And so the example that I want to give is actually very connected to these energy centers. And it says that we have more than one intelligence center in the body, for sure. And the one that is most often like overworked in general in the world, especially in the workplace, is here. And this is important. Our mind, our third eye, our ability to see, our ability to think and analyze, it's very important and very powerful. But so is the intelligence of our heart. The heart is the compass for the mind. So if you're just thinking and thinking and thinking with the mind and your heart is turned off, you're not going to create anything with substance that's going to last. And, you know, this is a big issue that I have with a lot of technology, is that I feel like so much of it has been created without the anchor of the heart as a compass. It's just like innovation for the sake of innovating, rather than innovating with the purpose of actually making this home that we all share better, or life on this home that we all share better. It's not. So anyway, and then the third is this gut, right? This gut, this intuition. And this is your willpower. This is your, like, whatever I can see that's connected to the heart, the compass of my heart, I can manifest it. I can bring it to life. I can make it happen. And so the example that I'll share is kind of twofold with Headspace, which was in LA, this meditation a startup that I created their first office for them, and also Airbnb, and the leadership teams and throughout the company in many cases, before meetings would start, Headspace would do a meditation, a 1-minute meditation, which just for a moment stills this and comes back into the fullness of being. And from that place, what does a meeting look like? And for Airbnb, my best friend was, helping with the learning and development for the entire company. And she brought in a 3-center check-in for people to do, for the executives to do before a big meeting, where they would check in with their head, they would check in with their heart, and they would check in with their belly. So this making its way into the workplace feels so good, because it brings everything into the fullness of being. And it's from that fullness of being, from that balance of all of these energy centers, that we can really create something much more meaningful and much less wasteful, and I think much more aligned with the world that is emerging now. Yeah.
Thank you. Yes, yes, yes. I want to add to the fuel of that, and the permission giving to other companies and leaders within companies who are going like, well, that's all fine and good, but I work in manufacturing and this is more old school, or that's all fine and good and I work in a police corps, or I work at a school. I just want to say to those people, so get it, and that's scary and it sounds weird, but there is a way of speaking it or bringing it in that uses language that works. Have you know Simon Sinek, Kelly? Okay, so I'm reading his book Infinite Game right now, and one scenario he shared about was the head of Shell Oil, who he basically goes and sees a coach who leads his circle and his team, his leadership team in circle, to connect to those centers and to their emotional body. And it was all to create psychological safety so that they could take care of each other on their oil tankers. This is like a super machismo culture. And they needed to go into their childhoods and some of their feelings in order to trust each other, to say the gauge isn't working, or I don't understand how that works. Can someone tell me? That way you avoid actual death on the job. And so it's interesting, the relationships here. It's not just some nicety or a wellness exercise. It's really about the bottom line and the triple bottom line. Okay, well, you have been so generous to give your time to this and your energy. And I just want to say, from every cell in my body, thank you. I love you. You inspire me. And I look forward to watching and hearing what you do next.
Thank you so much. Thank you for thinking of me. Thank you for holding me in your heart for all of these years. I treasure our connection, and I look forward to seeing who else you bring in and the conversations that emerge from this.
Thanks for joining us on Path and Purpose. Before you go, is there something you want to take with you? Perhaps a story that sparked a new thought or feeling for how you want to live closer to what matters most. Add your voice to the circle by leaving a note in the comments, and we hope you'll continue walking the path with us on SoundCloud, iTunes, and YouTube for stories from future guests about making meaning in this emerging world. Until then, as Dad says, let's be safe and have fun.